Hey there, so I figured I'd go ahead and make the how to scream video. So this is gonna be, a little different. First things first, how I scream, I make sure I have, and this is gonna be gross, enough mucus in my throat to coat it. And the reason I do that is, well, when you scream, you're harming your vocal cords. You're also harming your throat. And you can feel it too. And that's why when you get a bit hoarse, you can tell it in screaming as well. And it's also harder to scream. So that's the reason I do that. And most people like myself have kind of a gravelly or a just kind of, how do I explain it? Anyway, at the end of my voice, you can usually tell that there's like a kind of a gravelly-ish sound. The people that scream the best, it seems like, have that kind of sound to their voice. A lot of people tell you to drink plenty of water. Well, if they say that, then they don't scream how I do it. I kind of had to adapt how I scream because, one, I spent too long in band camp. Water is, ugh. And yes, you can taste chlorine, and yes, you can taste water. So, I usually, if you ever see a video where I'm actually recording my face while I'm screaming, which I highly doubt I'll ever do that, I usually have a soda such as Mountain Dew, because the canola oil in it helps. And yes, Mountain Dew does have canola oil in it, which sounds kind of gross, but makes it taste pretty good. Or I'll have a Dr. Pepper. Coke actually strips the mucus from my throat, that I've noticed. Or I'll have a Powerade. And that's because with the either the sugar, high fructose corn syrup, or whatever's in it, actually helps create mucus. Gatorade, however, slightly strips the mucus from my throat. So that's why there's that. And like I said already, it takes lots of practice. You aren't going to get it overnight. It took me about a week to get the idea down, and then another couple weeks to at least get far enough ahead that I could attempt to make videos, and then a couple months to pretty much perfect it. So it's not something you can get overnight. So there's that. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know how to explain how I scream other than I just go for it. And I know in previous videos or video comments I have said that I fry scream. That was a mistake. Actually, I'll admit I screwed up in saying that. I whisper scream. And the difference between a whisper and a fry scream is, one, well, the main difference, if someone whisper screams, you can stand next to them and still hear a conversation next to you. And, still have your hearing, your ears won't be ringing and whatnot. Fry screaming, if you can hear the next word at a good volume, you're doing good. I mean, it's loud. It is loud. For example, artists, actually, I'm not sure of many artists that do whisper scream, like famous artists. There are some small-time artists that do whisper scream, but I can't think of any major that would come to mind. Fry scream, Corey Taylor, Maria Brink, can't remember the frontman's name of Escape the Fate. In the earlier days, when My Chemical Romance did scream slightly, when Gerard Way was drunk off his ass every time they had a concert, he did fry screaming as well. That's why his voice changed after a while. He sound, young and pretty good, and then after a while it started getting a little bit more gravelly. That's why. So, yeah. So how I talk normally is kind of how I scream. And that doesn't make sense. You use a little bit more force when you scream. Yeah. And it's when you whisper scream, I suggest that most because you'll maintain your voice a lot longer than fry screaming. However, if you can't whisper scream, you can't whisper scream. If you can't fry scream, you can't fry scream. That's just how it is, you know. Different strokes for different folks. So, like, for example, and I'm kind of awkward on camera by myself. Like, how I would scream is like, "Hey!" rather than, you know, and that was kind of borderline fry. That wasn't. But basically, I'm quiet, so I had to have, in the first few videos I did, I had to have the recorder, well, really, iPad, really close when I did it. Of course, I was also in the dorm room, so I had to be really close and really quiet. That's why I went to whisper scream rather than fry, and I didn't want to lose my voice. So, or sound like a smoker. So, which there's nothing wrong with smoking, but anyway. So, that's pretty much how I scream. If, you know, there's something I can, like, not infer, but if I can go into detail about, you know, let me know. But that's basically the rundown of how I did it. I'm also one of those people that you would call a mocking singer, or a mock singer. I forgot how they say it. And in that, I can sound like multiple different artists, but not that many at the same time. But I also use that to learn how to scream as well. So if you have a favorite artist that you like hearing, like Suicide Silence, you know, whatever else, Escape the Fate, or early Escape the Fate, some Seether, you know, whatever artist you like. And that goes for singing as well, regular singing. Whatever artist you like, follow them. Like, listen to where they strain their voice more, and when they don't, when they have more force or strength. Listen to that, where they're quiet, or they are barely singing or screaming. Listen to that, and just copy it. Try your hardest to copy it. That is the best way I learned to scream. That's the best way I learned to sing. Of course, when I started learning singing, we didn't have YouTube videos. Yeah, so, however, screaming, and I did look up multiple screaming videos, and they were all fry screaming, and it's just not something I wanted to do. So, yeah, that's about the best I can describe it. So, yeah, like I said, if you want to know anything else about that, you know, hit me up. I'll try to explain as best I can. I'm horrible at explaining things. So, we'll go with that. Anyway, see ya.